Lippitt, owner of the Hill Street Group and host of Communication is an Art, the podcast. I'm a communication strategist, a public speaker, and a leadership trainer. Most weeks, I'll be joined by other communication specialists, but every few weeks, you'll hear from just me to equip you, the listener, with practical tools and strategies to navigate through your day with confidence. These podcasts are always non-scripted and conversational. So let's dive into this together. Hi, it's Pam Lippitt, formerly of the Hill Street Group, now rebranded as Pamela Lippitt Communications. Why did I rebrand? Because, I don't know, I've been thinking about it for about a year. There were a couple external things that maybe just say now is the time. Part of it was having my bank accounts and my credit cards hacked, and I had to set up all new things. And I thought, you know what, as long as I'm setting up new things, it's time to take ownership of my name. I'm very proud of the name I've made, both in my local community and my online community. And I just decided it was time. So in weaving in the communication, if you're watching this or seeing this, you'll see I still have the, in my logo, the cross street sign, but now it says Pam Lippitt Communications. So I hope you like it. I hope you'll start following me all over the place, because now you'll remember it's my name. I want to dive in a little bit today and talk about something that's been coming up the last couple weeks. It's been a busy couple weeks. I had work friends in from out of town, people I'd never met in real life before. Some people say, how can those be your friends? But I have to tell you, especially when you work on your own, you create a community of like people, like-minded, like work-wise, that really support you in all different ways. I would give a shout out to Kenneth Lang and Brenda Meller and Sue Griffey, who's just the biggest rah-rah supporter there is. And so that was really busy. I was a participant in an all-day summit for the self-employed. That was really busy. And then it just kept going on and on with networking events and different programs and stuff. So I'm taking this week and recording a couple things on my own and really to take a breath and regroup with everything that's been going on around me. I think it's important to take a breath and regroup every so often. I don't have a guest on the show today. You're just going to hear from me, probably 15 or 20 minutes, I figure. I want to talk to you a little bit about something that's been coming up a lot when I saw these various people. And just so you know, I am using a bit of a cheat sheet because I don't have someone to ping pong my thoughts off of, like when I interview someone else. So don't mind if you're watching this and I look down. I'm still thinking about you and about how I hope this message will help you. So the topic for today, as we hit the 3-minute mark, is the difference between being an introvert and being shy. All last week, I kept hearing people telling me how they were introverts, and I'm an introvert about this and that and the other thing. And I think it lumps people together. Sometimes when people have a diagnosis, there's two reactions. One reaction is to live in the diagnosis. I have this, therefore I can't. Therefore, I won't try, because after all, the diagnosis and the term is bigger than me. And there are other people who say, okay, finally, I have a diagnosis. Now I know what to do to overcome it or to live my best life, even though I have this diagnosis. And I find that about the term introvert a lot. Okay, I'm an introvert, so I therefore don't like to go to networking events. Therefore, I don't like to do this. Therefore, because I'm an introvert, I can't do whatever. And I disagree with that. I think there are lots of coping mechanisms and different ways to approach things. But I also think that a lot of people who feel they are introverts are really just shy. So I will start by telling you a little story about myself. Some of you may have heard it before. When I was 4 years old, kids didn't really go to nursery school in my neighborhood. It just wasn't a thing. I took dance, I did other things. But the summer before kindergarten, my mother made this bold step to send me to camp. 4 years old, 4.5 years old. Why did I go to camp? I was so shy that I would not talk to anyone. I was the child who hid behind my mother's back when she tried to introduce me to someone else. I often used to kid with her that I paid her back. I'm in communications for a living. And I help people overcome that shyness that was in me because I learned how to overcome it. And I embraced being shy as something that was okay. It's okay to be shy. I don't like meeting new people necessarily, but once I hit my stride and my comfort zone, I'm okay. There's a little bit of me that's introverted, which really means that you don't like noises and extraneous things, and you really like a low stimulus area. I only say there's a little bit about me because I was in a horrible car accident when I was young, and it left me with migraines and other things. And so one of the things for me that causes migraines is that mix of many conversations. So it's hard for me. I have to really lean in and listen and get to that one conversation, because otherwise it all just becomes noise to me. And so that's something I know and something I have to work against all the time if I'm in a large room. But we do it. I live with it, and I figure out how to live with it, not live in it, which is what we're talking about. So I just want to talk about that it's so interesting. I did some research on statistics because I always like to throw in a few statistics to make you think I'm smarter than I am. And it showed that 25 to 40% of people consider themselves to be introverts, and about 70% of those people say they're drained by social interactions. They come home, they have to crawl in bed, they're exhausted. They just don't even know what to do next. I am not that person. I come out of that situation recharged, proud of myself that I walked into the situation in the first place, and ready to connect with people and then do things one-on-one or on my own terms, which is the shyness part. Now, here's the other statistic. In the US, 40 to 48%, almost half the people, say that they have been shy in either specific situations or all the time. That's really interesting. Not the anxiety level, but just the common everyday shy to introduce yourself to someone new. So why do I talk about that? Because I think a lot of people who call themselves introverts are really actually shy. You can be an introvert and shy. You can be an introvert and not shy. You can hit those buttons however you want. But I think whatever you call yourself, live above it, not in it. So, Susan Cain, who's written a lot about this, says that shyness is the fear of social disapproval or humiliation. But introversion is a preference for environments that are not overstimulating. Shyness is inherently painful, and being an introvert is not. I would say when I read all these things, all I keep saying is, oh, yes, that's me. Oh, yes, that's me. Oh, yes, that's me. Followed up by, what do I have to do to get over it? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Once we clarify what is bothering us, like any diagnosis. When you figure out, oh, my back hurts because I'm turning left too quickly, you learn not to turn left too quickly to help your back. It's the same thing, I think, with being shy. So those are things that we can get through based on different interactions. Now, I think it's funny because even though I don't like large rooms, I like going places with a lot of people. I find that to be very positive. Maybe it's less nerve-wracking for me that there are a lot of people, and so I will be able to find someone in that mix to talk to. Where if there's a few people, you have to really button down and figure out who you're going to talk to. And it's interesting how people perceive things. I went to a networking event last week, and a friend who's also a solo entrepreneur was there too. And I got there not early. I got there a half hour late, but I texted her and said, this may have been a mistake because there's hardly any people here, and I had expected something different. Okay. That was mine. She walked in, looked around the room and said, you thought this was a small turnout? I expected to walk in and find like 6 or 7 or maybe 10 people here. There are 40 people here. So it's interesting where you like things to be and where your comfort zone sits to see things. I looked at 30 to 40 people and said, oh, that's not enough for me to talk to and make small talk with and see who I'm going to connect with for the next hour. That was painful to me. Where she looked at it and said, oh, there's a lot of people to talk to for the next hour. I'm going to be successful. So it's just everybody's different, and that's okay. We can be different because once you acknowledge something, you can conquer it. Have I said that before? I'll keep saying it again. Once you acknowledge something, you can figure out how to conquer it. I talk all the time about practice and preparation. And if you're shy, that is key. To know what you're going to say, to know that you're going to have a little, for me, humor injected into the situation, that I'm ready, I'm prepared, I've practiced, I know the 3 things that I'm going to try and weave into a conversation. I've been using one a lot lately. You can steal it. I give you my permission. But if you do, I also want you to reach out to me and let me know how it goes. Mine is, this is my I have a favorite sound in the world. When things get more of a conversation and you want to kind of suss something out about someone else, I always say, I have a favorite sound. This is my favorite sound. I will tell you, my favorite sound is the sound of water lapping against the shore. I don't know why it is. I can't give you a reason. I grew up at a pool, so it was at the shore, but it's that rhythmic lapping of the water that I absolutely love. And then I say to people, not often, I always say to people, what's your favorite sound? To a person, they say to me, I've never thought of that before. Let me think about that. I have to think about that. And then within 10 seconds, they tell me their favorite sound because they do have one. They just haven't identified it. Someone told me last week, like the crickets creaking at night, chirping at night. That's their favorite sound. It's a summer sound. Someone told me the cry of an infant, that teeny weeny cry before they even become a baby, that's their favorite sound in the world. Each person has something, but they look at you with this idea that we've now created a connection. We've now made something that put us together. And then when I follow up with them, I can say, we had that conversation about sounds. It was so interesting. I really loved your response. I loved how you looked at it. I loved that you loved mine. It gives you a break in that shyness. Now you have something in common. Once you have something in common, there's a particular sound you like. You're no longer strangers. You no longer need to be shy. You've created a situation where you can always revert back to that. So if you think of that as like a micro goal to create a conversation, create a link. That's going to get you over that hump of the panic of having to talk to someone you don't know. For me, the most difficult thing in the world is the 20 minutes driving to a networking event, right? You would think that wouldn't bother me. I'm on this podcast. I'm talking to you just off the top of my head. And I don't seem to be stressed out at all. Yeah, right. But it's because I've practiced. It's because I've taken those micro steps that get me to this point. I also like about that kind of a question, and it can be your own question. It doesn't have to be my question. It could be, anything. What was your favorite vacation? What's your favorite movie? I can answer them all because I know them all, because I've practiced them all. So I can be set for any situation. And that kind of takes me from what will they think about me? So it's about me, to what can I learn from them? What can I create as an interactive conversation that allows me to off the bat learn about someone else? They like that. And so in turn, I'm comfortable. So if this sounds something that makes sense to you, there are other tricks like using different calming tools, that celebrating the positive and the outcomes that are success. So if I met with, had my rule of three, you've heard me talk about my rule of three. If I've met with 3 people and I have 3 good answers and I'm successful at my day, I can celebrate how many people I made a good connection with, not how many people I didn't connect with. Because for me, it's more important to make a deeper connection, someone who will maybe refer me to another person or refer me to their company to speak for a group about one of the various things I do training on. That to me is so much more important. So we're almost at the 17-minute mark. I guess I did talk a lot about this, more than I thought, and I could go on and on, but I'm not going to. I wanted this to be just a brief conversation between us. I want it to be between us. I want to know what your favorite sound is. Put it in the comments below, whether you're streaming or watching on YouTube or on my website. Let me know what your favorite sound is, and maybe it'll start a conversation between us. You never know. So I also have a free coaching handout about being shy and how to get through it. So let me know if you're interested in that. I'll put a link to that up in the next couple of days so that you can grab that as well. So for today, for this really, really hot, sticky summer, if you're listening in the summer, sadly full of smoke from wildfires. Don't even get me started on what I think is happening in this world. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. So have a good one. Hi, this is Pam Lippitt from the Hill Street Group. Thank you for listening to Communication is an Art. Make sure you subscribe and continue to listen. We really appreciate it. Share with your friends all those different lovely things. And we will be back soon. Have a great day.